5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cue talent.
Hi, and welcome to The Take on Point TV, a show where we get to hear different media professionals' take on the media industry. I'm Anna Novello, and we have a fun show for you guys today. Our guests include Dean Nelson, who founded the journalism program here at Point Loma Nazarene University, and Max Butterfield, a breakout content creator and professor. Actually, let's get to know Dr. Butterfield on this week's Fresh Take. Roll the clip.
Oh, hey, I'm Max Butterfield, Dr. Max Butterfield. Welcome to my office.
So, where did you get the idea to start posting your style of content?
You know, I was writing a book and I got some advice from a literary agent that if I wasn't on Instagram, publishers wouldn't take me seriously. She asked me if I could get 100 followers by a month. I said, sure, I'd give it a shot. And 8 months later, I've got about 1.5 million.
And we want to know what's with the funky shirts.
I just have a bunch of t-shirts. People, I think they don't know what to give me for gifts, as an old man. And so like my kids will give me t-shirts, my parents, my in-laws, and usually it's just psychology puns. And I used to wear them to teach, and now I wear them in these videos.
We want to know, do you have any specific mannerisms or quirks that you use to engage the viewers into your content?
Well, I definitely do the I thing. You know, I'm Max Butterfield, Dr. Max Butterfield. People do that to me in real life now. Usually it's just my friends, not random people on the bus or whatever. I guess I don't take the bus very often. But I do that too. I mutter, and I do that on purpose. That is actually very intentional. Sometimes I'll look away. I try to make it very engaging and very much like real life conversation. So it's meant to be lively and, interesting and kind of keep people involved.
Do you have any behind the scenes tips to give us media comm students?
Sure, absolutely. The first thing is just start filming and see what happens. And a lot of times you get out there and it doesn't work very well at first, and just keep going. You just keep trying and trying and trying, and eventually you find something that works. You can find me on Instagram. You can also find a few videos here and there on TikTok or YouTube Shorts, but Instagram is primarily where you can find my content. And as for what's next, I'm building more content every day, both on Instagram. I also have a website, drmaxbutterfield.com, where I give free guides, illustrated guides that I create, and offer some courses as well. So the courses are probably my next big enterprise. All right, so I'm gonna take my fancy equipment here. I gotta move my stupid phone and my fake plant. I think that's fake. I've been watering it hasn't grown. And I got my table. Put this right here, and I have a fancy setup with an old printer box. You can get these if you just go upstairs into the office and take the garbage and use it for your own purposes. I put that right there. Looks like it's gonna be an okay shot. Got my DJI Mic Mini, which I really like, by the way. Just kind of sit down, plug this in, snap that in, put this on. Got the double mic situation today. Turn my camera on, I'm good to go. That's pretty much it. I'm Max Butterfield, Dr. Max Butterfield. Don't trust the influencers. They don't know what they're talking about.
Welcome back, and I hope you enjoyed getting to know Max Butterfield. We're excited to see what other myths he'll be debunking in the future. Now, please join me in welcoming Dean Nelson, who writes occasionally for many national publications, is a professor of multimedia journalism, and the director of Writers' Symposium by the Sea. How are you doing, Dean?
I am well. I'm happy to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I want to get started by having you tell us about your storytelling journey. Did you always know you wanted to have a career in storytelling or be a storyteller?
Heavens, no. No. I started out with no marketable skills running a coffee house in Detroit. And that lasted about 3 years, and I needed some kind of direction in my life, and ended up in journalism. And once I got there, then I realized, oh my goodness, the power of a well-told story, a well-told true story. I found that so invigorating and life-giving, but it took me until a few years after I'd graduated from college to actually sense that, oh, this is what I was put here to do. So no, it was not always this way.
Wow. And then when you were in college, what did you major in, or what did you go to school for?
I was pre-med in college, and I think everyone is grateful that I am not their doctor. So I studied that. I was getting ready for the MCATs, the medical college admission tests, and realized I love working in hospitals. I had worked in emergency departments and on ambulance crews for years, even in high school.
Wow.
And thought that's where I'm headed. But I actually didn't like spending all afternoon in the lab, and realized that for the next X number of years, that's all I would be doing when my friends were playing Frisbee. And I wanted to be out playing Frisbee. So I changed my major at the last minute, had all my electives in literature, so I ended up with a literature degree.
Wow, very interesting. And then do you remember what the first story you wrote, or one of the most like compelling articles that like?
Well, I
really
remember my
sparked the
first
page?
story, but it was not the most compelling. Those are two different things. But my first story for a newspaper in Columbia, Missouri, it was at Christmas time, and it was a little small paper, and a Santa Claus was visiting the pediatric ward of the local hospital, and I followed Santa around and told those heartwarming and heartbreaking stories of who he encountered, and for whatever reason, that kind of stuck with me because, again, you could make it really sappy or you could make it meaningful, and I saw that you could do something that was so cliche-ish and make it a meaningful story. So that has stuck with me. That was my very first story.
Wow, that's beautiful. And what led you to Point Loma Nazarene? How did you end up here in our journalism department?
I was working as a business writer in Minneapolis, which is where I'd grown up, and I was working for a magazine, Minneapolis St. Paul Magazine, and then doing some corporate communication stuff. And Point Loma had voted to start a journalism program, and they were interviewing people to perhaps get it going. And I was one of the people they contacted, and I came out here. I'd never been in San Diego before. Oh. And honestly, Anna, I didn't think I'd stay. It was one of those, I didn't want to end up in an old people's home, sitting on the porch thinking, I could have gone to California for a little while. But I, just stayed in Minnesota. So I thought, yeah, what harm could come of it? Who could get hurt? So I thought, I'll come out here for a year or two and see what it's like. Well, that was 41 years ago.
Wow, wow.
I still may end up in that old folks' home, but not regretting moving out here.
That's inspiring, and I know here at Point Loma, faith is a big part of many students' journey. How do you feel like that affects your work that you do as a journalist, and or how has it impacted?
Yeah, I think my relationship with Jesus actually makes me a better reporter because of being concerned for and attentive to people on the margins. You read the life of Christ in the Gospels, and it was always challenging authority, always bringing people in who one might think didn't deserve the attention. And I see that, and I think in my journalism, I can do something similar. I can hold authority accountable. I can be inclusive in the voices who I want in my stories, and it just makes me more attentive to the human spirit, to the human condition. I think it's actually made me a better reporter.
Wow, yeah. I agree. I feel like it really grounds you in the work that you do, especially when there's so many things you're dealing with, a lot of stories, a lot of perspectives, and so that's really...
Yeah, even something like covering trauma or covering dire things, deaths, natural disasters, whatever, you can still do that with a certain level of compassion and understanding of this is not necessarily how it's always going to be. So I think it's given me even more of a broad-based view of the world.
Wow, that's great. And I know that you were recently at a conference in Washington, the Society for Professional Journalists. What did that involve, and what did you take away? How was your time there?
Yeah, I just did a seminar on interviewing. You're doing fine, by the way. And and what I noticed about it was there were very many sessions, professional development sessions, that journalists and journalism students around the country could attend, and some had to do with investigative reporting, some had to do with requesting documents, and I looked at the numbers of how many were attending these sessions, and there were 20 people attending that, 40 people attending that. And then I did this interviewing seminar, and I had 200 people in mind. Not because I'm a really famous guy. What that communicated to me, Anna, was there is this hunger to know how to engage one another better. We have so many tools that can keep us apart. We think we're connecting with one another, but we're actually not. We're connecting with ideas of one another. But the chance to actually engage and go deeper and get past the surface curated baloney, there was a hunger for that. That's how I interpreted it. And then those conversations continued for the rest of the day and the next day. And so I found that interviewing need is kind of a basic human longing. And so I was really encouraged by how many people came to it.
I agree. It's definitely an art form, and it's definitely a learning curve. It means a lot that you said I'm doing fine, because obviously I want to make you proud and do a good job at this.
I'm already proud of you, so just stop it. What's the next question? Come on.
And I wanted to ask you as well, do you have any tips that you could impart on us for interviewing for any students that might be nervous, or any journalist students? That one tip or
Actually, it's a really important question, because one of the things that I learned as a journalist early on was I was spending all of my time in getting the interview, making sure that it happened, and didn't spend nearly as much time, what am I going to do once the interview starts, right? So the preparation and putting questions in order, but the more prepared you are, the more confident you're going to be, and the more at ease your source is going to be. So preparation is the key, and that would take away so much nervousness.
Putting that down in my mental notepad to remember. That's great. And you also lead the Writer Symposium here at school. What has been one of your most memorable guests that you've interviewed and had on that stage with you?
You know what? It's a cool thing. The symposium is cool in that at times I get to bring in my heroes. And my journalism hero was a man named Bill Moyers. And we were able to have him years ago, and he was just delightful and marvelous and deep and funny and warm and all of that. He died just earlier this year. And one of the great memories I have is of the time we got to spend talking about writing and journalism. And then there have been others. Cornel West, for instance, was like trying to interview a hurricane. He was all over the place, but it was awesome. Yeah. Or a Ray Bradbury or an Alice Walker. I mean, they're...
Oh, you've interviewed Alice Walker.
I did.
Oh my gosh, she's one of my favorite artists.
You want her contact information?
Yeah, after the show.
I can hook you up.
I love that. And you've written a book, because obviously your breadth of knowledge is vast. And so can you tell me a little bit more about your book, Talk to Me, and what you learned from that experience?
Sure. In fact, I'll tell you how the book came about. I had written a book, or was working on a book on being a better writer. And we were sending, my literary agent and I were sending it to all these publishers all over the place, and everybody was going, no thanks. We have a book about writing by Stephen King. You're not him. We have a book about writing by Anne Lamott. You're not her. All these famous people had written books about writing, and the publishers were just going, no thanks. But one editor, this was the editor at HarperCollins, put a little PS at the bottom of her rejection, and she said, but you seem to know something about interviewing. Would you consider doing a book about that? I got on the phone with her, and the two of us started this sort of mind meld, and really within about a half an hour, We had the idea for how this thing would be structured, and then it was off to the races. So it wasn't even my plan to do that book, but that book has been way more useful and helpful than just another book about writing.
Wow, yeah, I have to check it out. And you're writing books, you're writing articles, you teach here on campus as a professor. Do you have any tips for writing, or how do you, in journalism specifically, obviously there's like tight deadlines to meet. How do you manage that when you're on a time crunch? Like,
part of it is just simple curiosity. Most things I find interesting. Most people I find interesting.
Same.
Most of the people in the studio I find interesting. Remember, I just said most. Anyway, this is just one of the traits, I think, that you develop as a journalist. And now the teaching and writing balance is always a little tricky in that if I'm working on a book project or if I'm working on a big magazine piece, and I'm trying to keep up with my coursework, it's a bit of a dance. But if I'm working on a story and I just come back from an interview and I go into one of my writing classes or journalism classes and say, you won't believe what just happened today, it actually, I think, enhances the teaching and makes the classroom experience more valid.
As your student, I can attest that yes, it does.
Cool.
You keep
Thank
it so
you.
relevant and current, and it feels like you're moving with what's happening in the world versus just like being rigid with it, which obviously works great too, but I really appreciate how you kind of fluctuate with it.
Thanks for telling me. You just went from a B+ to an A-.
Heck,
but,
yeah. Okay. Anything else you would like to share with us here, Dean, while we have you? Any highlights, anything we haven't touched on yet?
Sure. If it doesn't sound too much like shameless self-promotion, I have 2 new books coming out next month, where I've taken the conversations of the last 30 years of the Writers' Symposium with these great writers, and I've distilled those conversations into 15 chapters, one on the craft of nonfiction and the craft of fiction. I'm not the one writing the book. I'm not saying, now I can finally have a book about writing. All I'm doing is saying, here's what Ray Bradbury says about inspiration, and we've got some dialogue in here. Here's what Anne Lamott says about discipline, and here's what Mary Carr says about rejection. And so it's all of these things, all questions that all writers have asked at some point in their lives. I've got this one, it's called Talking to Writers, the Craft of Fiction, Talking to Writers, the Craft of Nonfiction. I'm really stoked about it.
Oh, I can't wait. I'll definitely be giving that a read. And for any students who might be interested in following a similar path like yours, what advice would you give them?
Just start writing. And I don't think it matters where or how or the means. It could be Instagram Reels. It could be YouTube videos. It could be small things for a church news website. It could be anything, but just get started, get some practice, and it's just like exercise. Once you start doing it on a regular basis, you just get better and better.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dean. We are so happy and grateful that you were able to share your time with us here today. And just thank you so much for your knowledge and insight.
Happy to be here. I had fun talking to you.
Thank you, Dean. And now let's jump to AJ, who's going to share a controversial media topic in our last segment, The Hot Take.
Hi, I'm AJ. So, when did having followers suddenly mean that you have a career in the media industry? Like you post one video, dancing to a catchy song, and suddenly you have a long-term place in the media world? Some people are out here studying journalism and film, grinding away at getting internships and learning how to actually tell stories. But no, if you have 200K followers and a good ring light, you're qualified to report news, host shows, and give opinions that actually shape how people think. When influencers are given a mic and a camera just to get viewership or likes, it undermines those who have worked so hard to build credibility. Having a social media platform and a fan base makes you visible, but not credible. Don't get me wrong, influencers have a place. They are so great at creating community and honestly, influencing. But being good at going viral doesn't equal good storytelling because the media industry relies on trust and credibility, not virality. So we should stop thinking that being able to create a good TikTok get ready with me means that they are qualified. The future of media shouldn't be determined by who's the loudest, but by who is the most authentic and responsible with their voice. That feels so good to get off my chest.
Anyways, thanks for joining us, everyone. We hope to catch you next time from the control room to your screen. That's The Take.